here, but I just wanted to talk, share some thoughts. I've been posting some content around burnout, breaking burnout. Um, that's something that I dealt with personally and have worked through and continue to work through. And I've just been hearing from folks that it's pretty prevalent out there, particularly with clergy and nonprofit leaders, but also I think a lot of us just really struggle with this whole burnout issue. We live in a world that really pushes us to do more and work harder and get better or else. And there's a fear of missing out, I think, that then drives a lot of our decision making. So I wanted to get on and talk about that. So that's what we're going to do today. So if that's what you came for, that's what you're going to get. I put something up there today, a post up today that started with when I tried to break burnout alone, I ended up broken. And so probably the best way to start is just a little bit about my journey with just wrestling with burnout and breaking it before it broke me. So it's really started probably maybe last year, but probably even before that. I think I had picked up some real bad patterns and habits, but really last year I noticed myself really trying to carry the weight of ministry on my back, really trying to carry the weight of the business that I was looking to start on my back. And there were, in both areas, there were definitely people who were trying to help me, wanted to help me. But I really felt like, if it was to be, it was up to me. And I was carrying a lot of that myself. And what started happening is I was very much cheating my family out of family time. I would say that I wasn't as involved as a father as I would want to be. I was tired all the time, but there was this sickly sort of draw to the work. Even though I knew that the pace wasn't sustainable, that I could not seem to break myself from that. And I just wanted to work all the time. I wanted to be in the office. I wanted to be pitching clients on the consulting side. I was willing to work long hours. I was skipping meals to do work, and I knew it wasn't sustainable, but I didn't see a way out. And at the time, I'm not sure I really wanted a way out. Spiritually, I was really dry. I would open the Bible and just nothing would come out. Writing sermons was really tough because I just didn't have the spiritual capacity to write them. And they'd get done. And I like to think I'm a pretty good preacher, but it was a slog. I mean, to do it because I didn't have anything to give, ultimately. And what I thought was that I just needed to power through, that this was just a tough season. Everybody goes through it. If I just powered through, it was temporary, I would eventually just kind of get past it and just stumble my way into a more restful season. And like I said, I knew intellectually that I needed others to help me. I knew intellectually that I needed God to help, but I wasn't acting out of that belief. My actions were not aligning with my stated trust and belief in Jesus and in the help that I knew that was around me, because I thought I just needed to power through. If it was to be, it was up to me. And really, though, what I needed to do was not to power through. I needed to power down. Because I didn't really trust that in my weakness that God would be stronger. I didn't trust that I could acknowledge my weakness. I even to myself, I didn't want to acknowledge that, that I was struggling. Believe that I needed to be strong. And then what happened after the first of the year, we went to Israel, which was an awesome trip. If you ever have a chance to go, you should definitely do it. But I picked up a bug while I was in Israel and ended up knocking me out for 3 weeks. And I think part of why the recovery took so long was that I was exhausted. And then I got better from that, and then I got sick again, and just random exhaustion. And when I start to burn out, I wake up and in the morning I can't get out of bed. I'm dizzy. I'm just everything hurts. No, I don't want to move. And that happened 2 or 3 times, and it happened on a couple of Sundays. Like that morning, I had to call our leadership and find somebody who would cover for me. And that's, as a preacher, you never want to do that. It caused me to miss both of my daughter's first piano recital because I couldn't. That I woke up that morning and I just could not make myself go out of the house. I was so exhausted. And so that was really a wake up call. Were those things that had happened. And I, at the time I was in, and I still am in a coaching group that was really discipleship focused and focused on spiritual leadership. And in that group, we were reflecting on Jesus's pattern of retreat and advance. And in that retreat is where our identity is settled. And when that identity is settled, that leads us to be able to walk in the power of the Spirit. And I had discerned some real clarity about my identity, that God has wired me to be a thriving leader who helps others thrive. But the reality was I wasn't thriving. I was striving beyond my capacity, and because I had bought in to the do more, try harder, get better, or else culture that was pushing me to strive behind my capacity. And I believed I had to do that, or else I wouldn't achieve my goals. And so it was those sort of critical moments of recognizing illness and exhaustion, also getting clear that while I was stating this identity about myself, I wasn't actually living like it. That while I was trying to help lead others into a thriving space, that I was not leading myself into a thriving space. That awareness really woke me up, and it set me on a path towards thriving, where I leaned into my weakness instead of trying to power through it. And I started focusing on the various dimensions of my life. So we all have these dimensions. We have spirituality, we have relationships, we have a physical dimension, which is our time and our health and our energy, intellectual dimension to life, and then a financial dimension to our lives. And I really started, I noticed that I was lacking spiritually, I was lacking relationally, and I was lacking physically. And so I started to focus on those things. I created space to intentionally focus on my spiritual life and made myself do it. I focused more on the most important relationships, my wife, my kids, other key leaders that I invest in and that they invest in me. And this was probably the most radical change, is I really attended intentionally to my physical health and my energy, and got really clear about what I needed to do with that. And so that's been the process that I've been on, is attending to those things. And it's really helped to break burnout. I didn't burn out, but I was close. And it was these kind of sort of pattern, these steps that really helped me to get there. Burnout is something I have to guard against daily, because I will go back there. I will go back to that striving place that will keep me from thriving in the life that God has given me. So I really have to pay attention to my spirit, to my body, to those close to me, what they're trying to tell me. I have an awesome wife, I have awesome family, I have an awesome church, and there were people in all of those arenas that were trying to tell me, like, hey, slow down, you're working too hard. I'm really fortunate to have those relationships. I just wasn't really doing a good job of listening to it. And so I'm trying to listen well to that. The result of that, I'll tell you, is that I really feel free in my identity to be that thriving leader that helps others to thrive. And I'm also free to ask for help. And so like I said, I have a great wife. I have a great leadership team here at church that I've started to lean on much more heavily for carrying the vision. And there's definitely room to grow for me in that. And I'll tell you from a physical standpoint, I'm the healthiest I've been in years. I really am. And again, long way to go with that, but I do have a goal to be in the best shape of my life the day I turn 40, and that's in a year and about a month, well, a year and 3 weeks. And so putting that out there, you all can hold me accountable to that. That's my goal. So I think if you're in that spot of feeling like burnout is creeping in, needing to break it before you break you, I think there's a few things you can do. I think it starts with clarity of identity, because when you know who you are, you'll know what to do. And so getting clear about how you've been wired, and then developing some sort of plan for how you're going to break burnout before it breaks you, and then setting up some form of accountability. I was one of the questions I was asked that when I announced that I was going to go live later today. Somebody asked about, well, how do you pick someone who can help you? How do you know who can help you? And this person was looking into spiritual direction as an option for that. And I've tried spiritual direction. For me, I didn't love it. But I know some people do, and I know spiritual directors, and the spiritual director that I was working with is wonderful. But the process just didn't really land for me the way that it lands for others. But if spiritual direction works for you, then that's a great way to go. For me, it was sort of an amalgamation of looking at some different resources, looking back at coaches I've worked with, books I've read, trainings I've been to, just what I remembered from all of that. And if I had come across someone who when I was in the process of moving towards burnout, who could have helped me with that, I would have hired them to that's probably the route that I would have gone to work with a coach. Because for me, coaching, that's where I seem to get the most results. But you got to know yourself, and you got to know really what's going to be the best fit. For example, right now I'm working with a holistic health coach on my diet, and between my confidence in the guidance that she gives, the support that I have from my spouse and from the coach herself, and the financial investment. I mean, it's between buying the right kinds of foods and then investing in the coaching itself. It's a substantial investment financially that we're making as a family. But that, between those three things, that's really what's made the difference. I've lost almost 30 pounds since June. I feel the best that I've felt. I'm off some of the medication I was on because of the changes that I've been able to make. So I think, knowing that you're not going to break burnout by yourself, looking then for the person who can help you get clarity about who you are and why you're burning out, who can help you develop that plan for that you believe in to break burnout first, and then making the decision to invest in yourself and in breaking burnout before it breaks you. I think whoever that person is, that's what I would do is find a coach, or some relationship like that that's going to help walk you through that, because it's always a good decision to invest in yourself. There's always return on investment when you invest in yourself. And if you don't, I mean, if you keep doing what you're always doing, you're going to get what you always got. If you don't make any significant change in your life, you will burn out. And I've known people who've gone through that, and it is really tough to come back from. I think even some of the steps that I outlined can help come back from burnout. But if you can prevent it from really happening on the front end, that's where that it's worth it to do that. You're not going to magically just prevent it. You're not going to just drift into a less exhausting season. You've really got to take intentional, strategic, guided steps that you execute on a daily, weekly, and annual basis in order to make that happen.